the doorbell camera that ate his marriage. I fix things people don't want anyone to know are broken. Some nights that means routers that only speak lies after midnight. Other nights it means a thermostat that believes trauma is a temperature. On paper, I am a freelance network guy with a certificate the city ignores. In my neighborhood, I am the person who installed the mesh, so our doorbell cameras stop fighting with the courtyard fig tree. That is how I met Ray. She lived 3 doors down in a brownstone where the marble steps knew everyone's shoes. Her husband, Colin, chaired the neighborhood safety council, a volunteer position with the swagger of a badge and the budget of a bake sale. He loved cameras the way some men love dogs. Ray loved quiet. She ran a supper club out of her kitchen every other Thursday for people who could tell the difference between salt and attention. I wired their house a year ago and made the doorbell behave like discretion. On a windy Tuesday, the HOA president texted me like a crisis at half volume. The city was piloting a shared portal for police requests, and he wanted to impress a deputy mayor by pretending our block had been ready all along. He needed the logs standardized by Friday and a demo that did not show the part where 2 residents had taught their cameras to swear back. I was under Ray's stoop swapping a power injector when her door opened and her laugh slipped down like heat. She had someone with her, not Colin. Lighter footsteps, a voice with a magazine polish. I stayed still the way you do when the right thing is to vanish, and the real thing is to learn whether the story is going to ask for you later. The guest left with a polite wave toward the street, no goodbye captured by the lens. Ray stepped out into the stoop air and looked straight at the camera above the door. She knew exactly where it couldn't see. Then she looked down to me where I was pretending to be Brick and said my name like a password. "Mark," she said, "you look like a man trying not to be a witness." "I fix equipment," I said. "Witnesses get stipends." She smiled the kind of smile that puts a hand on your sternum. "Come inside," she said. "I owe you a coffee I do not intend to drink." The kitchen smelled like roasted fennel and something slower. She set a mug in front of me and leaned against the counter as if it had applied. She wore a ring the color of moderation. The window light made her look like a decision. "Colin wants to feed our cameras to a portal," she said. "Please tell me there is a menu option called Not Today." "He wants a demo," I said. "It will be theater." "You do theater," she said. "You make it look like weather." She handed me a folded sheet of paper. It was a notice from the city asking for footage between 2 dates and times for an incident that smelled more like a rumor than a crime. Nothing on our block happened by accident on those nights except the usual: ambient strolls, illicit recycling, the secret life of cats. There was also a supper club, 2 Thursdays, hosted by Ray. "Did you feed a portal already?" I asked. "I fed my guests," she said. "Colin wants to give them a show. I'd prefer to curate." If you never handled neighborhood politics, you might believe this is about locks. In practice, it is about appetite and proof. The demo would make the city think we were cooperative. The portal would make the city own our evenings. Ray understood both better than I did. "What do you need?" I asked, because the air was already asking. "Accuracy," she said, "and privacy for those who behave like adults under my roof." "And those who do not," I said. Her mouth made a shape that was not quite a laugh. "Adults," she said, "covers many sins." The favor she asked was small and criminal only in the literary sense. For the demo, we would route the API request through a sandbox with simulated footage generated from last year, depersonalized and boring. For the real portal, if it survived the meeting, I would set retention to 24 hours and teach the cameras to forget without trauma. It was not illegal. It was mercy engineered. Colin texted me 3 check marks and the word hero. Ray did not text. She handed me 2 things wrapped in dish towels. One was a hard drive with her supper club playlists and nothing else. The other was a shoebox with an SD card taped inside, no label. She placed the box on the counter like a small rescue. I did not open it. "Just in case," she said. Just in case is a neighborhood religion. The God is convenience. The devil is discovery. The demo happened in the community room above the corner deli, fluorescent lights interrogating everyone equally. The deputy mayor spoke the dialect of pilot programs. Colin beamed like a man who had turned a toy into a sermon. I tapped and swiped and made our block look like a model for a grant. The portal pulled in a week of sanitized comings and goings. Everyone clapped because the room wanted to like itself. Afterward, Colin shook my hand like a donor. "You save us from ourselves," he said. "I limit the audience," I said. He laughed and slapped my back and turned toward the deputy mayor as if summoned by ambition. Ray, across the room, watched me the way a metronome watches a pianist. She left without a word. I didn't sleep well. 2 days later, a rumor escaped its pen. The neighborhood forum lit up with a post that began with a photo of 2 hands touching across a table and ended in 27 anonymous opinions about who those hands belonged to. The grain of the shot told me the camera. The timestamp told me the night. Ray's supper club. The hands looked like hunger-taught manners. Someone had fed a portal and then fed themselves. I knocked on Ray's door at dusk. She opened with her sweater sleeves pushed up like she meant to wash her conscience. She let me in and poured water and said nothing until I placed the printout on her counter. "They will make this a map," I said. "Do you want to drive?" "The hands are mine," she said. "And a friend, not a husband's. I am not the villain they want. I am the grammar they hate." "Colin," I said, and let the word sit. "He likes evidence the way bays like windows," she said. "He thinks truth should always want to be seen." "What do you want?" I asked. "To stop living as a public service," she said. "To stop being the note he annotates. Heat is a tool for one thing in this life and a poison for others. We were careful. We moved like neighbors pressed into temporary conspiracy. I took her shoebox and left by the garden path that knows how to pretend feet are rain. I went home and put the SD card in a reader with a heart rate. There were 6 clips, each 20 seconds, each aimed at the big table in Ray's kitchen. Nobody's face. Only hands and steam and bread torn in a way that interests theologians. A laugh every other clip that I recognized not because it had touched me but because it had been kind to me. It wasn't mine. It was Colin. I did not edit the clips. I did not delete them. I did the only ethical thing left in a small story that had attracted too many thirsty people. I encrypted the archive and wrote a small script that would zero out the file if anyone tried to copy it. Then I put it back in the shoebox, taped the box inside a larger box labeled Dead Router, and stashed it on a shelf in my hall closet behind a bread machine I have never confessed to owning. The next morning Colin knocked. He did not wear a badge. He wore a fleece with the Block Association logo, which is a similar ritual. He held a phone with the forum open like a Bible with pictures. "Did you feed the portal beyond the demo?" he asked. "I routed all requests through the sandbox," I said, "as discussed." "Someone leaked," he said. "Not the portal," I said. "Someone with a camera, or a friend with an app, or a friend who stopped being a friend." He stared at me like a man trying to remember if he had ever done me a favor. "There are consequences," he said. "I prefer nouns to threats," I said. He left with a nod that practiced being ominous. I watched his back go down the steps like disappointment. Ray texted me that afternoon. Not words. An address to a cafe 2 blocks beyond the map the forum drew for itself. I went because we were past favors and into the part of a story where you decide if you want the ending to change your name. She sat by the window with a mug she was not using. The light made her mouth honest and defensive. She lifted her chin. I told him, she said. What he wanted or what happened, I asked. What happened, she said. He said it was the same thing. He says a lot of things that are not working anymore. You are brave and uninsurable, I said. She smiled barely. Do you remember when the mesh went down for an hour in April, she asked. The fig tree had opinions, I said. We sat at the table, she said. No one recorded joy. No one reviewed it in the morning. It felt like being human again. We can make the fig tree louder, I said. I want to be louder, she said, in the voice that belongs to me. We didn't touch. We are adults, and we know how hands go from comfort to evidence. We did the next brave thing. She invited her supper club back with a note that said guests will leave their phones in a salad bowl at the door. Some of them balked like addicts. Most handed over their little machines the way you stop carrying a stone when someone asks if you enjoy dragging it. The forum reacted with glee and instructions. The portal, at Colin's urging, requested hours that smelled like punishment. I set retention to 24 hours and told every camera that it was night during those 6 hours and that night is a right. It was a lie engineered for mercy. I'll do time for mercy. That isn't a threat. It's a design preference. Then the doorbell camera ate a marriage. It happened on a Monday morning when Ray left for the market early and Colin stood on the stoop for a call. The camera caught his face as he listened. You couldn't hear the voice. You could read what the words did to his mouth. He did not cry. He looked like a man discovering the ground is a subscription. When he finished, he did not come inside. He sat on the top step and stared at his shoes. For a full minute, the algorithm that identifies visitors tried to sell his posture to the cloud. He forwarded the clip to the forum with no caption. It accrued meaning like a wet shoe collects grit. Half the block called him dignified. The other half called him a martyr and asked when the supper club would be renamed the cheat club, inventing a version they could hate without expense. Ray came home through the back alley and cooked soup for the woman upstairs whose daughter had the flu. She delivered a thermos and did not look at the internet. She is better at love than we are at narrative. That night I unplugged my own camera and sat in the dark like a sin eater. Ray knocked at 10 and stepped into the hallway before I could apologize for the mess. She put her back against the door and closed her eyes and exhaled like she had been paid to hold her breath all day and was finally off the clock. 8 years, she said. He is right that promises matter. He is wrong that they are the only things that do. Do you need alibi or tea? I asked. Neither, she said. I need a human and a story that does not make me small. We kissed. It was inevitable and also chosen. It wasn't frantic. It was precise, the way a hand fits a thought. My fingers learned the truth of her waist, not farther. Her mouth taught me the language of a person who has decided to stop translating herself for audiences. We kept it YouTube safe and permanently memorable. When we separated, she rested her forehead against my chest and laughed once into my shirt. I am not a headline, she said. You are the paragraph they misquote, I said. In the morning, she called a lawyer not to ask how to win, but how to leave. In the afternoon, Colin sent a message to the block that said he was stepping down from the Safety Council because safety is not surveillance and love is not a committee. People applauded in their heads and argued in the comments. The portal remained in pilot, which is the city's word for purgatory. I removed the sandbox and left the retention low. I taught the cameras to forget the way trees forget your gossip. I returned the shoebox to Ray with a roll of tape and a label that said kitchen tools. Inside, the SD card remained encrypted and unremarkable. Some stories earn deletion. Some earn archives. This one earned a drawer and a choice. Weeks passed. The fig tree kept its opinions. Ray's supper club evolved into something with more toasts and less theater. Colin started running at dawn, which is another religion. Whenever Ray passes my window now she taps the glass twice, a metronome we invented to say "still here" without turning our lives into a chorus. Sometimes she comes over and we sit on my floor with dinner that isn't photogenic. Sometimes we kiss until the city forgets we owe it noise. We are careful and honest in equal measure. We will be brave later when later arrives with paperwork. We kept the mesh. We trimmed the forum's claws. We told the cameras to learn a new trick called mercy. The deputy mayor lost interest when the pilot stopped printing headlines. The block quietly wrote a new policy that says cameras are for doorstep packages and stray dogs and the occasional raccoon who thinks rules are for other mammals. Everything else belongs to the dark, which is not absence but privacy. If you need a lesson, it is this. Technology is a room. You still decide who gets a key and how the windows work. Love is a room too. You still decide when to open the door and who eats at the table and how many stories your body is allowed to tell without asking the neighborhood to vote. The doorbell camera ate his marriage, the forum said. No. The marriage forgot how to be human and tried to be content. Cameras only learn the verbs you give them. We gave hours to Ray for a while, and she taught them one we had neglected. Unrecord.